Welcome to The Human Edge. This week's guest is Gabriel Van Rel. Gabriel used to be an elite karateka and now is the sensei of the karate dojo where I practice. This conversation was personal to me, but also absolutely fascinating. We talked about fear. We talked about competing with fear and how to get past that. We talked later about who inspired Gabriel to want to teach, how he's evolved as a teacher over the years. We talked about the importance of an ancient discipline like karate in today's modern age. I absolutely love the conversation and I hope you do too. And if you have enjoyed the episode as much as I have, please please share the episode with everybody you know, and of course, please subscribe. It would be massively helpful. Thank you. So I want to go down take a trip down memory lane.
Please.
1993. Okay. Right? You probably remember the year. You were 18, 19 when you competed in the US National Championship.
Yes.
From a kind of a psychological perspective, before you went onto the mat, mm-hmm. what was going through your mind? What was that kind of experience like before that performance?
I think it's always, for me at least, it's always nerve-wracking. It's always nerve-wracking. When you get towards the finals, a lot of times you recognize different competitors, so you know them, but it's the United States is a big country, and you don't know who you're gonna face. So it's always nerve-wracking, and then you look at that person and you don't know them, and you're gonna have to fight, and it's nerves, and it's just trying to calm that inner voice. That's it. It's always been the same thing for me whenever I've competed in anything. So yeah.
And what was that inner voice saying in those moments?
Just blatantly, I'm terrified. Yeah. But up to that point, since I've been 7 and competing with the other guys on the team and training with my instructors, my coaches, I've done thousands of sparring matches and things like that, but it's still like you come to this moment and all of the doubts rise up to the surface. And it's quite a thing. For me, it was always that if I could have a minute, because a minute is a long time when you're sparring, when you're competing. And if I could just have a minute of just easing in onto the mat, then that voice would calm down, and then I could flow. You'd get you might trade shots. Every match is different. You might trade a few techniques, but it's in that calming down that then, as we were talking before, once you're in that kind of state where you're not thinking too much, and then you can just feel your way through. That's where the magic, the fun can begin. But you've got to get past. For me, you've got to get past that first match, that first moment, and then after that. Okay. It's not that everything's going to be, everything will be easier actually, because that voice is gone, so.
Did that turn into a kind of a deliberate strategy for you then in that first minute? Were you more cagey, allowing your mind to settle? Was that kind of an intentional way of kind of fighting or almost not engaging?
For sure. You're engaging, but you're not engaging. So you're moving around and I may get close to you, but really you don't know that I have no intention of doing it. I'm just saying, how are you going to react? Maybe, you throw a technique, doesn't have any real kind of true distance on it, but just enough. How are you moving? Are you scared? Are you counterattacking? Are you aggressive? Are you ready to go? So you're just feeling your way through. I've always been a slow starter in every sense. So that strategy for me has always felt comfortable. I don't like, fools rush in as far as I'm concerned, and I don't like just going right through from the start. I kind of want to have a little conversation and find out a little bit more about you. And, movement. When you're in there, if you're really able to get into the zone, you clear out all of the noise. You don't hear anything, and you get to know this person in a very weird way. You've never touched this person, you've never spoken to them, but you're starting to get to know how they react. Are they nervous? Are they angry? Are they really relaxed? Are they very confident? Are they? You find all of that stuff out. It's all unspoken.
Yeah.
But you get to know that in a minute because it's so intense. It's a tournament now. It's a competition.
Yeah.
And you find out about these people. It's a very interesting process.
It's a dance, or it's a conversation, isn't it? One of the reasons I've called this podcast On the Mat is because of that, the karate influence and the conversation that you can have without speaking.
Absolutely.
When you're fighting someone else.
Well, I think that's what's missing from a lot of training nowadays. I don't think that instructors talk enough about the relationship between you and your partner, and how important it is. Like I think what we do is amazing because we get to touch each other, we get to feel each other. That's something that now, some places you can't even, some cultures, it's even uncomfortable to hug somebody, So it's, touch, or just being able to look into somebody's eyes, to feel them through these unspoken things is so important. And it's really lost in our culture. And the more that technology comes up, the further and further away we get from our humanity. You know what I mean? That part is leaving us. So I think having a movement practice, a dance perhaps, martial arts, what we do, so important, so important, because you don't have to have a conversation. You can just feel your way through, and sometimes without touch, just a look.
Yeah, That's so interesting, isn't it? I should have said at the beginning, I have a lot of questions to ask you.
Please.
And some of them aren't from me. Okay. So I canvassed some opinions from the dojo. So
thank you, Dojo.
We'll see.
I had a feeling. I don't know. I was like, I wonder.
We can weave some of them in, and one of them actually, one of the questions is really interesting. I think it touches on what you've just been saying, which is karate is a very kind of traditional, very old discipline. So to what extent is it relevant in today's world?
Ooh. That's a great question.
Yeah. You can guess who asked that one.
Quieten, probably. I think it's extremely relevant because it's so necessary now. As we've just spoken, with the rise of technology, it's a double-edged sword because it's amazing. I mean, look at what look at what you're doing now. This is all going to then go out on the net and find its way through the world. So that is incredible, but it's also a double-edged sword because I've just erased, this is a month ago, I took the Instagram and Facebook off my phone because I looked at my screen time, I was like, oh my God, like hours of my life are just going. And you think I'm just tapping, oh, that's interesting. That's 5 minutes, but it adds up. I could have been doing something productive with this. So I think that it's the practice of the formality, the way that we sit in seiza, the way that we take a moment to breathe, the way after we finish our kata, we're exciting ourselves, doing all these movements, and then we come back to stillness. That's really important because that's teaching us self-control. We're connecting with our body, we are connecting with our mind, we're connecting with the spirit. The spiritual aspect, sometimes just breathing or being still in a room, but with other people. Yeah, it's very powerful. And if you don't actively seek these kinds of things, if you don't practice karate, like I'm interested in that. Why am I interested? You could just wind up on your phone. You lose your life, and you lose your humanity. I know this. So it's. I think it's more than relevant. I think it's necessary now.
No, I completely agree with that. I think I'm also guilty of spending way too much time on my phone, and we're more connected than ever before in some senses, technologically, but so much less connected to ourselves and to other people. Yeah. So I think for me, that's one of the fundamental reasons why karate, or a discipline like karate, is so relevant, more necessary than ever before.
Oh, for sure. People think that it's about, violence sometimes, and you speak with very educated, open-minded people, and they think just violence, and so many people don't know. I think it's the other way around. It's about calm. It's about tranquility, finding that stillness within you, within a group. Yeah.
I said to you last night after practice that, I love karate for so many reasons, but one of the primary reasons is when I'm practicing, when I'm training, I'm not thinking about anything other than that.
Yeah.
I walk from the house to the dojo. I'm very lucky to live on the same street. It's not a long walk. My mind is full of stuff of the day when I arrive.
Yeah.
But as soon as I step onto the mat, it's gone.
It's like, what are we doing now? Let's just get into it.
Yeah, and it's such a kind of a meditative experience. And for me, that's one of the great benefits of practice.
Well, as an instructor, as a teacher, I can say the same thing for myself. When I used to work a 9-to-5 kind of corporate world and everything, I used to get migraines all the time. And you know me, I'm a pretty chill guy. So it takes a lot to get me into that state. And so since I've started teaching, very rarely will I get a migraine because of family stress or life, whatever it is.
Yeah.
But it has happened. Yeah. And every time it's happened, by the time I'm done teaching, it's all gone. Everything is gone and I'm calm. So it has the same effect. I think it's the fact that you have to, you are, to a certain degree, you are thinking, especially when we're learning new katas, or, like last night where we're just repeating something very specific that's not easy to do. You have a stimulus coming at you, you have to respond in the right way to that. So there is a lot of thinking until you can do so many repetitions that now you're feeling your way through. But I think it's that. So you're using your brain, you are using your body has to land and you have to put yourself into the correct position to have proper, efficient technique. And you're working with another person, so you're moving quickly, you're both moving at each other, but you have to do it with tremendous precision, control, so you don't hurt your partner, so you have to take great care. You're exerting yourself, so the heart rate is up just on a physical level. So literally every system is switched on. Every system is switched on. I totally see why you cannot do the practice and be thinking about, your horrible boss or, your kids or anything. That all goes out the window, and that's wonderful. That's wonderful. Your problems don't survive on the mat. They don't make it. They won't make it past the class if you're practicing properly.
So I can't remember. Maybe it was you who said it to me that certainly in the kumite, in the fighting, the sparring, one's true personality comes out in that moment.
For sure.
Yeah. Why is that, do you think?
Because I think because it's chaos. And it's really nerve-wracking. See, so again, going back to people who think it's violence. If you get somebody off the street and like, okay, put on some mitts, put on some shimpa. Why? Put on a mouthpiece. Why? That guy's going to try to hit you. Yeah. Oh my God. It's like that by itself, is really nerve-wracking. And I think that, so you have all of this fear that's rising up. And if you were bullied as a kid, maybe, maybe your big brother used to beat the crap out of you your whole life. That anger might rise up, and it will come out sooner or later against someone. Maybe not, one of the smaller students, someone that you're not threatened by, but that person that maybe threatens you, maybe they're just a bit bigger than you, but they're very nice, very kind, and they're moving gently and soft, and it should be like a dance, but in your mind, they're a threat. And then that anger comes out, that thing that's been accumulating or that you've never dealt with is right there, it just comes out. Maybe you're just terrified of confrontation. And now every time somebody might, you think they're moving, maybe they just, and you're too quick to react. Yeah. Because you're terrified. And so you don't have any, that part of your personality, you don't have any assertiveness. Maybe that comes out. All of these things because of that unknown. So I think that it takes, with experience, if you look at experienced practitioners, 20, 25 years back, that should have gone. Even if they're fighting somebody who's better than them that they might be afraid of, it doesn't perturb, it doesn't disturb their movement, their being. They're just going to deal with the problem at hand, but it's not going to ignite them. You know what I mean? Yeah. Whereas I think with people who have been, if you're not naturally calm, or again, the things that you've suffered in your life, the fear and the uncertainty in that moment of kumite, of the sparring, will rise it up. Because again, it's your voice. In our dojo especially, like, we have a very calm, friendly, supportive dojo. So, we try to keep the kumite intense, but still cooperative.
Yes.
Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
And accidents can happen, this and that, but it's all, we would never do that with 2 white belts. We'd never do that with 2 beginners. So as the grades get higher, that's when we elevate. We turn the temperature up a little bit. But we try to keep it friendly and understanding. An accident can happen. But for the lower grades, I can totally see how, it's very difficult to hide who you are.
It's very difficult to hide who you are. And I love that as well. There's an authenticity about that part of karate that it's hard. I think it's hard to access in daily life. We all have a in the workplace, for example, many people have a facade, have a different work face on, right? Yeah. In the dojo, in that space, there's no hiding place.
Oh no.
So who you really are in that moment, it's visible for everybody to see. Yeah. And I suppose that can be quite uncomfortable, right, for some people.
Absolutely. Well, you'll see, but again, what we were talking about before, I think we went on, even somebody with experience but who hasn't done enough repetitions, like, the problems that you have, everybody knows. And now you've got to perform in front of everybody by yourself. And you can literally see the way they walk up to the starting point, the way they bow, the way they announce the name of the kata, so body language, your voice, all of that. It's all revealing your uncertainty, your fear. It's like, God, I haven't done enough repetitions. I'm going to now fail in front of it's all revealing itself. That's the thing. And then, some people are prepared, but they're nervous naturally. Maybe they need to get one repetition in, but then once you're there, you can relax. But there are many moments within the training that put you in an uncomfortable position, and you have to confront that. And the way that you confront that with dignity, I would say, is the goal. Fail with dignity, because then you can keep coming back immediately. I think that's the lesson. You want to put yourself in an uncomfortable position. Not every day, not all the time, fine, but definitely regularly, and then do it with dignity.
Fail with dignity.
Fail with dignity. I think that's an important thing. I think that's a life skill that I have not mastered at all. But I think that is a goal, because if you can do that, I think you can move forward a little bit faster. You can move forward with your life. You can just keep going.
I think there's a stigma around failure in general life, right? Where it's seen as a bad thing. And one of the things, for me, karate and parenting, a constant daily failure, which actually, I think if you can understand that that's what's happening and it's okay, and you're coming out of every experience of failure having learned something, that's the key.
Yes. For me, I think that it's been, and only recently, a realization of just think about today, just stay in the moment, because it is so easy, especially being a parent, to project to the future. Like, they're going to be a disaster, then you're never going to be anything. You're never, it's just like, it's just this moment. Relax, just get past this moment. It might be difficult, whatever happened. Just get on. Next day we start again, or next moment we start again, come back to the dinner table, whatever it is, just begin. Karate is the same way. You made a mistake, you failed in front of everybody, get back to the line, begin again. You know what I mean? It's just that step. But I think that's the key, is just realizing it's just a moment. This is informing you, as opposed to, if you can deal with that, because it's horrible. You know what I mean? You feel bad, you're embarrassed, and you're embarrassed in front of everybody. But if you can get past that, and your projection to the future that I'm a disaster, or my child's going to be a disaster, or my child's a disaster because of me, or all of these things, then you can just live in the moment, which is really the key to life, right? That's right. And then you can move forward, with a bit of joy, I would imagine. I don't know.
It comes back to the story we tell ourselves moment to moment. And I think that's why karate can feel so kind of exposing, because those, coming back to my first question about what it was like for you when you were 18, 19, however old you were, and that fear, that's when your mind is going 10 to the dozen.
Yeah.
And you're telling yourself a story about what this means. You're interpreting what failure might represent, what success might represent, all of these things.
Yeah.
And I think that's the key. That's the key to it.
Right.
If we can remember that we're in that moment, we're telling ourselves a story.
For sure.
And it's who's to say it's a thought? And who's to say that thought is true?
Yeah.
Because they're our thoughts, we think that they're true.
Yeah. But even thinking perhaps isn't what is required. You know what I mean? Thinking these thoughts and these stories, it's like, this is not, whether it's good or even bad, it's like, well, are you in the moment? Are you paying attention to this person, to your child, whatever it is? It's almost like, forget the story sometimes.
Yeah. Coming back to the teaching, who inspired you to begin teaching?
It was something, I've wanted to have a dojo for a long, long time. It was always something in the background, but I was very scared about doing it. But I'd grown up in successful dojos. I'd had good role models. But talk about fear of failure.
Yeah.
That's the bottom line. I guess in the back of my mind, I'm like, I can't do this. Must have been. Why didn't I start earlier? Because if you speak with all of my friends from high school, university, they all thought I was going to leave. I think you should start it. Why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you have done that? You have loved this. You are always talking about it. You're always doing it. But one of Gene Dunn, who is the captain of the U.S. karate team and one of my training partners, he had, followed his dream, as a competitor, very, very focused, single-minded. When he retired, he knew that this is what he wanted to do. And he approached, the opening and running of a dojo the same way he did as a karate athlete. And when I had my wife actually, it's a longer story, but I'd always been saying, I'm going to open up a dojo one day, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. And she'd gone out and she rented a place on Highgate Road, a dance studio. And she rented it for an hour, I think it was on Thursdays. And she printed up some flyers. I didn't know this. And she was going to show me anyway. She wasn't trying to set me up. But I'd said it again. Yeah, I wish I wasn't doing this job and I just want to start. She's like, really? Oh, that's amazing because you start on Thursday. And she went to the cupboard and got these letters. I was like, no, I'm not ready. And it was that fear. And it wasn't as if we were going to have 100 students, but immediately, excuse my language, I don't know if I can go, shit in my pants. I was just like, I cannot do it. And that was really how we started. And then Darren, a few weeks, 1 or 2 weeks after that, he was our first student.
What was the fear that you wouldn't have any students?
No, I was afraid I was going to be horrible, but that is the problem. You have all of these thoughts. It's like, just begin. You're going to suck in the beginning anyway.
Yeah.
And even if you start off at a good place, through experience, through years, through repetitions, you're going to get better and better. So it doesn't matter. You have to begin. That is the lesson. And I guess for me, that was the fear. But so we had decided, okay, we're going to start, and we were still thinking about moving back to New York. We hadn't sold our apartment. We were still having children. And I'd gone to a conference in the United States, and my friend Gene had given a talk, and I hadn't been in touch with him for years. And I gave him a call, and I said, I'm thinking about doing this, opening up a dojo in London. I don't know if I'm going to go to New York or stay in London. And we met, in the city, and we spoke after a few years, and he changed my life in that one conversation. He just painted this picture, like, you can totally do this. This is what I've done, broad strokes of how he did it. But essentially, of course, it's possible. You know what I mean? Of course, you can have this dream and do it. And that was it, and he changed my life, that one conversation. And after that, I was filled with belief, confidence, and we're gonna do this. And then that's slowly how we built it up, you know. But he influenced me in that way. There's a gentleman named Dave Kovar in the United States who I've done teacher training with him as well. But I really love his approach. He has this approach that, you know, you should be grateful to your students. You should be happy. You know, I have a life because of you guys. You know. Whereas the old paradigm was more like, you're lucky to have me as your sensei. I understand you bowed down. Yeah. Of course.
And I remember that from my childhood training.
Yeah.
One of the reasons I didn't carry on, it was very rigid. It was very soulless. From the memories I have of all of those years ago. It's not like that now.
I don't want to run the dojo. That doesn't mean that it's a soft dojo or that that the classes are not intense. You guys are, you know what I mean? We work our butts off in there. But it's a different, the thing, like a good parent, I hope, in the way that I feel about my mother and father, they have my respect. They don't have to demand the respect. They don't have to stomp on me or push me. It's given. You know, they've done the work, they've earned it. So if you are leading by example, then you know, and you're kind to everybody, and you're showing all of these qualities, you know, it should come back to you. It should come back to you. And everyone knows, you know, the hierarchy is set up the way the dojo is. You don't have to. I don't believe you have to enforce it. And if you do, I feel there's a certain insecurity. You know, that's so I'm attracted to those type of instructors. Those are the instructors who influenced me, Rick Houghton Sensei, who I've spoken about. You know, I mentioned him last night in class. I think that his approach to the teaching, to the art, the love of what we do, you know, he's so grateful to karate and the connections that we're able to build in class, and he's always talking about it. You know, I think those are the kind of people that I have been influenced by, who I admire, and who, you know, I kind of follow that line. More.
I just want to kind of pause and reflect on, so for anyone that's watching or listening, all right, the dojo's 10 years old this year, right?
Yeah.
And it's an incredible place to be, right? You have tiny kids all the way up to grizzled veterans like myself and others. And uniformly, everybody loves it. Everybody loves you, and the other teachers that are teaching. You've created such an incredible space for everybody. But yet 10 years ago, you were shitting your pants about doubting yourself, right? And so for anyone that's watching or listening, thinking about, they have a dream that they want to achieve, but they're not doing it because of fear. This is just a great example.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I didn't do it for so many years. So many years.
And I want to understand what that felt like as well. So when you had this dream, but you were almost kind of denying yourself that dream through fear, for example, what did that feel like?
Frustrating, impotence. You know, knowing, because within myself, I felt that I had not the teaching skills, because I didn't know. It's kind of like you don't know whether you're going to be a good parent or not until you begin. You know what I mean? And as the years go by, you find your way. But I felt that technically I had the skills to, you know, at least be able to teach someone how to do this. I thought, I guess just, I don't know about fear of failure, or I don't know what the fear was, but fear of being embarrassed. I guess fear of failure, fear of trying. And when I was a competitive swimmer in high school, and I started swimming when I was 14, but I did okay for, you know, starting that late. But I remember during practice, sometimes I would not give my all because I was afraid to come in at, you know, at a slower time than I should have been. And I guess that's been a fear. I guess, talking to you, it's a fear of failure. That's it. It's a fear of trying, failing, and then imagining the worst. Like that was it. That's what they're going to remember, that I didn't make it, that I wasn't able to do it. That's got to be it, you know?
Yeah. Is there anything that you're still afraid of failing at?
Well, I don't think that I'm a fully formed instructor. I don't think that I'm a fully formed karateka. I don't think that I'm a good or a bad parent. I think we have a wonderful family. I think we have a wonderful dojo. But I think that because of the nature that we're all works in progress, if you're trying to do better, then you're never off the hook. Do you know what I mean? If you're even, I went to the gym this morning, I didn't want to go. It's all those little battles, you know what I mean, constantly. Am I afraid? I'm kind of always afraid, a little bit up and down, but it's just day by day, I think. It's day by day. I get particularly nervous when I come back off the summer. We close down for all of August, that's 5 weeks. Yeah. And I can't believe every year, I'm going to be 50 this summer. I still get nervous when I come back. I've been doing this for 10 years. I have thousands of hours under my belt. I have failed and bombed almost like a comedian in front of parents when I was learning how to teach the children, all that. Some, for whatever reason, I still get nervous. September 1st. Okay, I got to do this again. I guess that's a good thing. I don't think that's bad. I think that's good. I'm not paralyzed by it, but I am nervous. So I guess I care. I want to teach a good class. I want you guys to have a good experience. I want to be true to you, and I want to be true to myself. I don't want to be a hypocrite. That's maybe that's it.
But it's a beautiful thing. So from our perspective, you're up here. We hold you in such high regard.
Thank you.
But yet it's so human, right? That you still have these fears and the doubt. So for all of us, we put people on pedestals. We have our inspirations. We have our heroes and heroines. They're all human. They're human just like the rest of us. Yeah. So we may think that they're invincible and but yet they have their fears. They have the stories that they tell themselves, just like we do.
Yeah. I that's one of the things that I've learned as I've gotten older. Is everyone is dealing with something, regardless of where they are on the spectrum of life. Money, no money, success, no success, whatever. Everyone's dealing with something. Some people are better at hiding it than others. That's it. Yeah. But everyone's got something. And
100%.
Funakoshi, I think the Dojo Kun doesn't get enough merit. It's not spoken about enough.
And for people listening and watching, what is that?
The Dojo Kun is the moral code that Funakoshi Sensei, who's the founder of Shotokan Karate, although karate has many derivatives, Kyokushin, Goju-ryu, Shitoryu, they all came from the same place, from Okinawa, and Funakoshi Sensei was one of the major proponents who really spread it around the world. And he was a poet, and he came up with 20 precepts, and then he narrowed it down to 5. And it really is a moral code. The first one is to seek perfection of character. And really, the next 4, the next one is defend the paths of truth. If you want to seek perfection of character, you have to first think about, all right, well, what does having a good character mean to me? So it's not a given thing. It's not like, and I'm Catholic, I'm not that religious, but it's not like, okay, you got to follow this rule, this rule, this. No, with the Dojo Kun, in a sense, you've got to figure out who you want to become. So you first have to define, all right, what are these elements? What are these values? Then the second one is defend the paths of truth, which is so beautifully poetic, And you got to figure out, all right, what's your truth? What are your truths? Defend those truths. How do you defend your truths? All right, I gotta wake up every morning I've set this goal for myself. I gotta make my bed. I hate making my bed. Gotta make it anyway. All of these are your truths. I've got to walk my kid to school or whatever. Okay, I gotta be there. And you're just chipping away at these things. The next one is cultivate the spirit of perseverance, which is really supporting the second one. You know what I mean? Because you've got to just show up. You what did we talk about? You're not a failure until you quit. That's the third one. The fourth one, honor the principles of etiquette. That is an awareness. How do you comport yourself? How do you conduct yourself in every day? And then the fifth one is, kind of calming down these feelings of bravado, this kind of impetuous courage kind of feelings, and really self-control. So everything leads back to the first one. And it's it's amazing. And talking about not being able to hide who you are on the mat, it's that perfection of character.
To me, there's a spiritual element in all of that.
Without a doubt.
And again, just coming back to a theme of an earlier conversation about we lose some of that. I think in the way that that technology has taken over our lives, we lose the connection that we have with ourselves, with other human beings, and with something kind of greater than ourselves. Which for me, that's what spirituality is.
Yes.
So I agree with you. Those precepts. And maybe this is something, when you're in your teens and your 20s and your 30s, you don't think about too much. For me, the grizzled veteran that I mentioned before.
I love that, the grizzled veteran.
I also turned 50 this summer. And so there's something about, a stage in life where you think a little bit more about your own mortality and what life is all about.
Without a doubt, I'm having more of that.
Yeah. And so those precepts are invaluable.
Yes, yeah, and you can keep working on them forever. There's always going to be a little bit more room for improvement. I think that's the beauty of it. It's not, you're never going to reach that perfection. And that's something to wake up for. You know what I mean? There's like a reason to live because of that, and it's also a wonderful pursuit, because then whether you have children, your friendships, whatever, your community, you're sending out those ripples. One of my favorite quotes is from Candide, which the last line of the book is "Cultivate your own garden." And it's similar to what Gandhi said: "Be the change that you want to see." It's like start with you first, and then let that ripple out. We have a friend of ours whose mother was very close with the Dalai Lama, and in the 60s, 70s, spent a lot of time helping him push his causes. But this one was a horrible mother, and it's incongruent to me. Do you know what I mean? Like you can't, want to save the planet and then shit on your family. It's like, what do you do? It's the other way around. First start from there, and then it's more power because it's grounded from your community, from your family first, and then it keeps building. That's much more powerful, in my opinion.
And that kind of ethos about always wanting to learn, always wanted the understanding that there's always more to kind of master about, inside.
Yes.
That to me seems to be, from our conversations in the dojo and outside the dojo, that seems to be your kind of the way you live your life. Would that be right?
I try to. I'll tell you a funny story. In January, the New Year just started, and I was listening to some podcast or something, and some kind of Zen yogi type guy. He was quoting an old yogi from the 60s, and he said the way that he lived his life, he was like, I don't mind what happens. But the guy was, no matter what, just calm. Yeah. And I was like, wow. And I was talking to Catherine, my wife, and I was like, babe, that's it. I think I found it. I was like, I don't mind what happens. I was trying to adopt that as my thing. I lasted like an hour and a half. But for that hour and a half, like a glass was broken, you know what I mean? The kids wouldn't listen to me, they didn't take out the garbage, this and that. I'm like, no, I don't mind what happens, everything's cool. And then I don't remember what it was, but one thing, I was like, fuck! And then I realized, I was like, shit, that's so difficult not to mind what happens. So this perfection of character thing, this is a tough one, man. It's a tough one. It's like, you get...
That's a lifelong task.
Yeah.
So if you kind of look back 10 years, how's your teaching changed in that period of time?
Definitely, I try to always have a theme. But what I kind of like technique, you know what I mean? Kind of how you learn how to... Everything is first really up here. You're thinking. It's prefrontal cortex. It's like, okay, I've got to do step 1, step 2, step 3. So the way that I would manage classes, especially the children's classes, even if you want to teach adults, I would recommend any instructor teach kids. Because if you can teach kids, you can teach anybody. And the principles of managing a classroom, although adults are different, they're there, they want to be there, you know.
Yeah.
The structure of it is very similar, but you're in the fire with young kids, and the younger they are, but I would say that for sure now, again, like kumite, if you look at a white belt in the beginning and you have them spar, very nervous, very self-conscious. Now I'm much more fluid, I'm much more relaxed. I'm comfortable with the class deviating. I might have a plan, but then something comes up and we go in that direction. I think the main lesson in what I've tried to teach the instructors who are underneath us and instructors who've come and gone, and the mistake that I made so that they don't make it, is when I first started teaching, I thought it was about me. So I remember thinking, and I guess this was going back to why it took me so long to start teaching as well, you know, to quit your job and be like, I'm going to become a karate instructor. I'm going to teach kids. And then you've got these parents with these amazing careers and everything. You're like a clown, you know, this is what I felt like. I'll speak for myself. And I was thinking, I wonder what they think of me. Instead of focusing on those kids. Yeah. That was it. And
just pausing there, because that's a fantastic life lesson, because we all think it's always about us.
Totally.
And it's never about us.
Never about us, you know. The parents just want me to give the best class to that kid. They brought them to us so that we can help them solve these issues of self-control, just whatever it is. But I realized, and it probably took me about a year, I was only teaching once a week for a long time, and we had one kids class and one adult class, that when I had the good classes, it was because I was able to get rid of that talking, you know, the same voice that comes up in your head when you're about to compete, when you're about to do. When I was able to get rid of that, get in the lesson with those kids and truly be myself. Yeah. That's it. Home free. Home free. That. So now I don't, you know, I am there 100%. I would say that is the main difference. I am 100% there for the students. You know, you have the moving parts aspect, the structure of a class, how you teach a drill, how do you, you know, what I'm able to do now, which I wasn't able to do 10 years ago, is I can get a room full of, we can have a white belt all the way to black belts who've been practicing, and I can still teach a pretty good lesson most times to everybody. That's a very difficult thing to do, you know. So I wasn't able to do that, but it's all of the experience, and again, like I always love the process of comedians, because they've got to fail to find their material, to find their show. They've got to fail for a long time to build up an hour, you know, and that's so brave. But in a sense, when I learned to become an instructor, I bombed so many times in front of parents, just being so embarrassed. Like the kids wouldn't listen. I didn't know. I didn't have the techniques or the confidence to control the room. I didn't have any presence. I didn't have a voice. I didn't have a plan. But I bombed and bombed and bombed, and until I found myself. Yeah. So
and when you listen to successful entrepreneurs talking about, you know, where they are now, they all talk about failure. You know, as you say, that kind of failure after failure after failure. There's so much learning and experimentation that happens in that process.
Yes.
Which eventually all of that wisdom accumulates.
Yes.
And so then you get yourself into a position where all of that, you can harness all of that learning. For sure. No, it's that is experience now. You've accumulated a bunch of experience. And also, I would like to think that, you know, if you're serious about it, it's like you develop this non-quitting spirit. It's like, no matter what happens, I don't give a shit. I'm coming back. I'm going to do it again. I'm going to suffer. Oh God, I don't want to go, but I'm going back and I'm going back. So in pursuit of your goal, regardless of, you know, whether you start out knowing a bit or you don't know or whatever, coming back and back again and again and again after that failure is character building, man. You know, it's, it's necessary. It's necessary. You use the word suffer, and there's something about the willingness to suffer, whatever that means.
Yeah.
In order to succeed, you have to suffer in the process. There's no two ways about it. And I think if you're coming back to the kind of the fear of failure, the fear of suffering is very real for a lot of people. I don't want to have to put myself out there, take myself out of my comfort zone. And the people that don't achieve.
Yeah. That's a tough one, you know, to put yourself into positions where you are embarrassed, to put yourself into positions where you suffer. I take a cold shower every morning, and I don't do it for the health benefits, you know, because that's debatable. Some people, you know, this creates this adipose fat, and you'll get another 3 months out of your life or whatever it is.
So you do it in order to suffer?
Yeah, it's just, I hate it. I hate it. And I go swimming in the Lido. I've been inconsistent this year, but the showers are enough, trust me. But I do it because I don't want to do it. And that's, you know, that's the one thing that, and when I go to swim, when I started swimming again this year and it was getting very cold, we swam, and my wife and I in 1 degree water, we were in there for 3 minutes. It was all right actually that day, because I think we had built it up so much. But you build yourself up to that. But the night before, I'm thinking about it. I'm like, I can't do this. But it's that putting yourself in an uncomfortable situation. I did it. And then you can go on with your day, you know. But I think it's important. But it's so easy. I mean, I read this, I don't know if it's true, this fact that we've only had hot water or hot showers for like 70 years or something like that, which is just crazy to me. You know, it's like, so everybody was taking cold showers or cold baths. That's brutal. No wonder we were tougher back then. It's so easy to get comfortable now. Even if you don't have that much money, you can still afford your phone and Netflix and everything. You can sit on a chair and just, you know, veg out, get some potato chips. It's so easy to be comfortable now. And that's tough. How do you tell someone, listen, this is not a good thing for your life? Like, what are you crazy? This feels amazing. Yeah, but in the long term, this is really, really bad for you. You've got to do something that makes you a little bit uncomfortable, or something where you move your, you know, and it doesn't have to be, you got to climb a mountain. No, it might be maybe your threshold, your limit is, I'm going to go out for a 15, 20-minute walk. Maybe that's actually difficult. That is difficult for some people. Okay, begin with that. You know, and maybe that's their suffering. But you got to be a little bit uncomfortable. That's what we try to teach the kids.
Yeah, I love that.
I don't know. I don't know if they're listening. You know, hopefully they will.
Yeah, I think something will be going in.
Yeah. Well, the example that we give as teachers and as parents is huge. You know,
it is. Looking forward 10 years, if that's possible.
Yeah.
Where do you want the dojo to be?
You and I spoke about this years ago. I had taught a self-defense class. I did it for a week, and we did it for free. You know, in school. I would like to get that charity off the ground, and I'm actually at the tail end of my certification, so I'm almost done. So that is you know what I mean. Yeah. It has begun. I have to finish that. Then I do the physical part. Then I get certified to teach self-defense, and I would like to start that charity. And I would like to be, you know, this is a crazy goal, but if I could teach in every primary school within the M25, there's got to be hundreds. And, you know, over the course of 10 years where I just do one, you know, whether it's a lesson or 2 lessons, I don't know how I would structure it, that would be one thing.
And just pausing on that, what impact will that have in your mind?
I think that exposing children, because, you know, we're talking about self-defense, but self-defense is more than the physical. Somebody attacks you, you defend yourself, you beat them to the ground, and yes, it's a lot more. Self-defense is, okay, waking up, you know, taking care of your body, taking care of your mind. So even though it's a self-defense seminar, it talks a little bit deeper to the children about kind of how to live a good life, because the self-defense is how do I defend myself against the evils of the world. And yeah, it gets a bit physical, but it's also about awareness, just awareness of your surroundings, awareness of your environment, awareness of other people. That by itself, being somebody who's not asleep, is huge, the impact that can have. And then if those children decide to train at a local martial arts school, whether it's karate, jiu-jitsu, judo, it doesn't matter. If martial arts taught the right way is a great thing. I've never met anyone who was like, how could you get me involved in martial arts? How can you get me involved in... No one's ever said that.
Yeah.
because it's been amazing. So I think that the impact that would have would be tremendous, 360 across the board. And the way that I felt when I did teach those 5 days at Brookfield School, it's amazing. It was so rewarding. It was so rewarding. I know that we enriched those kids' lives.
Yeah.
So that really, so that would be one project. The dojo, just in general, if we could keep growing the dojo, spreading the word, about what we do. Maybe another location within the community, that would be incredible. To create more instructors. We've got 3 instructors who they're assistants and they work for us part-time. But they started when they were 5. And, and so they're assisting with the baby group.
Yeah.
But to see them come to fruition, they're becoming their own people. I've witnessed them grow up, and I don't know them deeply personally, fine, but I know them, and the dojo, the practice, has played a small part in who they are now. And now they're spreading their little. It's amazing. Yeah. It's like seeing a parent, and you're watching your child grow, and you're watching your child. When their personality's coming through, and they're like, "This is amazing! Look at the thoughts, the original." So it's that. To see more of that, to keep what we've started now, to see that happening, So now they're enriching people, and they're being enriched by that, by that process as well. I think that's amazing. The adults were, people are teaching a little bit more. Just that, you just keep, the ripple just keeps going out a little bit further. That's wonderful.
Yeah.
So then it's not just me anymore.
Yeah. And I was going to ask that. That's kind of a legacy question, because there will come a point in time where you don't want to teach anymore, can't teach anymore, whatever it might be. But I'm assuming you still want the dojo to be there, right?
Absolutely.
It's not about us, right? It's not about you. It's about everybody else.
Yeah. I've never thought about a legacy. And if the dojo could continue when I'm gone, that would be incredible. But even if it didn't, if it died with me, then I know that the thousands of students that have come through the doors in some way, shape, or form, we've made them better, or we've, I remember I did karate a little bit, and the instructor taught me this or that, or it was all right, But hopefully we've left a little mark. And for the students, obviously, who've trained long term, they've benefited tremendously. It's a part of who they are now. For me, that's it. If you do that by just trying to teach good classes from the heart, teaching the foundation of the art. If you do that, then it is what it is. And if the dojo went on, great. If it didn't, we did our best. We did our best with the time that we had.
Yeah. That sounded very much like a closing question from my perspective, but it isn't, because I've got a few more from the dojo. If you could go back and talk to your 15-year-old self, what 3 pieces of advice would you give?
You would only... number one, and really this is 90% of the answer, follow your instincts. Follow your instincts. This is the problem with that advice, though. If I would have started teaching earlier and opened up a dojo earlier, and I never would have met my wife. And if I never would have met my wife, I never would have had my children. And if I didn't meet Catherine, I wouldn't be here. It'd be somewhere else. And I love my life. I love what I do for a living. I can't believe that I get to do what I do for a living. That I live in this community. I know people like you. You know what I mean? This is so that's the issue with instinct, because then it would have changed my life. But I guess eventually I did follow my instincts. That be humble. Be humble.
What does humility mean to you?
Realize that you are not the center. You are not the center of the universe, and everyone's trying their best.
I had a great quote about humility, which I think is just the essence of it. Humility isn't thinking less of yourself; it's thinking of yourself less.
Wow, that's great. Exactly, because humility is not putting yourself down.
Yeah.
Exactly, but you are not. You're not the center. That's perfect. Yeah. That would be it. I can't come up with a third one.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine. Okay, so you've trained in a number of martial arts over the years, and I know you're a keen student of boxing and MMA.
Yeah.
If you could design your own style of martial arts, what would that look like?
Ooh. Well, I'm trying to be more of myself with it. I'm not shackled to Shotokan Karate or any style. I try to move in a fluid manner, and I use the katas to kind of teach me more about the art, the distances, what could this movement be. Aside from application, I'm using it just to get in touch with my body, just connect with myself, connect with my students. But I love the fluidity of Aikido. I love the very slow pace of Tai Chi. But I love them all. It's a tough one. I mean, karate kind of has everything, if you think about it, because if it really is your approach. I love the power of Shotokan, the dynamism, the length of the movements. It's a very long art. But yeah, I guess I love them all. I absolutely love them all. And I think karate taught the right way has everything. It has the throws, it has the locks, it has the fluidity. It can have the slowness within the kata. I think it's the approach. I think we're doing it. I think we're practicing it now.
Right.
I think it's already there for us.
Okay.
No need to reinvent it.
That's a great answer.
Yeah.
That's a great answer. I think we have time for one more. Maybe I can combine this into the kind of traditional final question from this podcast. So if you could invite, let's say 4 or 6 people to dinner, dead or alive, who would they be?
Oh, I'm so...
Okay, and the other part for this podcast, if you could invite somebody onto my podcast, one person, living for the sake of this
of course. That'd be amazing.
Yeah, that would. Yeah, science has come a long way.
Yeah.
So, but let's go with the dinner table companions.
Ooh. Oh man, I'm crap at these kinds of questions. I always, when I watch it on another podcast, I'm like, oh, I'm gonna need a month for this. Bruce Lee for sure in terms of the karate stuff. Just think the guy was incredible. You know what? One of my former teachers, Jeff Thompson, who wrote a book called Watch My Back, and then he won a BAFTA for the short film. He dedicates himself now to writing. I trained with him for 2 years. I'd love to have a conversation with him again. So Bruce Lee, Jeff Thompson. Trying to think.
What kind of podcasts do you listen to, or books have you read that have really influenced you?
There's you know who? Robert Greene.
I knew you were going to say
Robert Greene. Yeah. I love that man. I actually feel a connect. I feel like he's an uncle or something. I love his book Mastery. I think that is the pinnacle of his writing. I think he would be an incredible person. Yeah. Bruce, Jeff Thompson, and Robert Greene would be my 3 for a dinner party. I mean, there's so many more people, but that's a tough question. Buddy. Okay, well, you got me with that one.
Well, that's a lovely quartet for dinner.
Yeah,
right. Yeah.
And who would you invite onto the podcast? Either, if you could have Robert Greene here, I'd be here in a minute. Or Jeff Thompson is an incredible person to have a conversation with about life, the practice. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I always say, Robert, Jeff, if you're watching, come on in.
Come on.
Gabriel, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure talking to you.
I can't believe we did it. Congratulations to you for starting this. This is incredible.
Thank you very much.
I'm very excited.
Yeah, I'm loving it. Thank you.